Oh, sorry. That's for a Democrat show.
Let me know when you're ready. Was an extremely great conservative commentator. We're tearing it up on Wednesday night. This is awesome. This will allow me to report. Well, this is Jersey Joe for the Reaver of Common Sense show. I'm on shrmedia.com.
Actually, I just totally screwed up. This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show. And welcome to the Reaver of Common Sense. I am your host, Jersey Joe, and I'm trying to make sense out of the senseless. If I can get everything working right. Oh, come on. Go away for a weekend and everything goes hell bent for leather. Welcome to the Reaver of Common Sense. I'm your host, Jersey Joe, and I'm making sense out of the senseless. The Jersey takeovers here. We have expanded to 2 hours every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you want to watch a broadcast, it's easy. Go to reaver.one. That is REAVER.ONE. And just click on the SHR TV button up top. It was a great weekend for me. Hopefully everybody else had a good weekend. Now, I'm going to give a warning. We do have a pretty good storm going through my area. So if the broadcast goes off, I lost power or internet. Just to let you know, give a little forewarning. I see things haven't calmed down. Things are just as nutty, and liberals are still attacking. I see they've upped their attacks on conservative hosts. We'll talk more later on it. I see they've gone after Eric Bolling. What's scary is they're not changing up the game. They're using the same tactics, and Fox keeps on buying it. It's a little scary. When you have people that step up after God knows how many years, make accusations that can't be proved or disproved, men are automatically held guilty no matter what. You know, it's pretty disgusting. Listen, if I sexually harass a woman, I expect to get in trouble. If anybody does, they should get in trouble. But it's come to the point that the way that the liberals are attacking, just make an accusation and you're going to get in trouble. You're going to lose your career. You're going to lose your job. That's bullshit. Until everything's proven, it shouldn't affect someone's life. All right, the Wall Street Journal, they want to use immigration to keep wages down. President Donald Trump should abandon his merit immigration reform and simply let employers import cheap workers to ensure profitability, the Wall Street Journal recommends. The newspaper's editorial board declared August 4th. Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas and David Perdue of Washington have introduced legislation that would eliminate the green card preference for parents, adult children, and siblings of U.S. citizens, which in effect would reduce legal immigration by 40%. Foreigners could also apply for up to 140 green cards via government admission process that awards points based on education, language ability, age, educational attainment, and job skills. But any point system is also arbitrary and reflects the bias of politicians, namely Mazars, Cotton and Purdue, rather than the needs of the employers. Employers have a better idea of the skills they need than does the Labor Department bureaucracy. Every economist knows that employers can only raise wages as fast as productivity and profitability allow. If the cost of labor rises too much for a specific job, employers will simply cease providing the service or move productions overseas. That means fewer jobs for Americans. The solution, as ever, is a legal immigration system that is generous with visas and flexible enough to meet the demand of a growing U.S. economy. If the White House is serious about passing something in Congress, it needs to recognize that reality. The editorial does not mention the increased demand by Wall Street investors and business for more imported customers. Trump's very popular reform would have less skilled immigration, which also inviting a smaller inflow of very skilled immigrants to help Americans grow the nation's productivity and per person wealth. Under pre-Trump policies, the federal government annual import 1 million legal immigrants into the United States, just as 4 million young Americans turn 18. The annual inflow has kept American wages down and now created a country-sized population of roughly 40 million consumers. Think about that. 1 million immigrants for every 4 million Americans who turn 18. The federal government also annually awards roughly 1.5 million temporary work permits to foreigners, grants temporary work visas to roughly 500,000 new contract workers, such as H-1B workers, and also largely ignores the resident population of 8 million employed illegal immigrants. The current annual flood of foreign labor spikes. Yeah. The current annual flood of foreign labor spikes profits and Wall Street values by cutting salaries for manual and skilled labor offered by blue-collar and white-collar employees. It also drives up real estate prices, widens wealth gap, reduces high-tech investment, increases state and local tax burden, hurts kids' schools and college education, and sidelines at least 5 million marginalized Americans and their family. They know this has been going on. They have ignored it. They've destroyed actually the middle class by doing this. And it's been in effect because it's widened the gap between the haves and have-nots. And as much as the liberals love to run around and say they want everybody equal, well, they don't exactly show it. Sorry, distracted. I need coffee. Democrats have been pushing for a lot of these tax breaks that they call loopholes. Democrats have been pushing for a lot for these for the larger immigration numbers, have allowed the illegal immigrants to come into our country. They've made the border so porous it's not funny. And now they're surprised that they're out of power and the Americans don't back them. Well, when you keep kicking the people, sooner or later, they're going to kick back. Now, this jackass really needs to go and just join the Democrat Party. I mean, he says it all right here. Bill Kristol, the Never Trumper, who's still going on, and top HR McMaster defender, an ally who is reportedly working behind the scenes to primary or oust President Donald Trump, wants Never Trumpers to rebrand themselves as liberals. Well, if he thinks he's a liberal, isn't that just being a Democrat? Kristol, conservatives are mostly the Never Trumpers on Twitter. The professional conservative establishment in Washington and professional operatives in the establishment political world. They also favor liberal immigration laws, so legacy media elites and corporatist establishment Republicans will like them. And in a Saturday tweet that speaks for itself, Kristol wrote, conservatives could rebrand as liberals. Seriously, we're for liberal democracy, liberal world order, and liberal economy, and liberal education. Does it surprise anybody that he thinks conservatives should start calling themselves liberals? He's never been a conservative. He doesn't act like a conservative. He doesn't talk about conservative values. Just because he's registered as a Republican does not make him a conservative. But what he needs to do is just, at this point, join the Democrat Party. I mean, that is what he's trying to do. He's trying to do a major coup and try to get all these never Trumpers to go over to become Democrats. That's the next step. You give another 6 months and 7 months, you'll hear him come out and he'll be joining the Independent. Then, shortly after that, he'll join the Democrat Party. Nobody in the GOP, nobody in the Republican Party should ever listen to this man again. Nobody should be taking his voice seriously. Whatever he says, they ought to do the exact opposite. I just started laughing when I saw this and saw that he tweeted that they need to rebrand as liberals. Seriously. What the hell are you thinking? According to the New York Times report, Kristol said he had begun informal conversations about creating a committee not to renominate the president. We saw how much influence that he had this past election. None. He tried anything and everything to stop Trump from becoming the nominee. But not only was he the nominee, he is now the president. You need to take one shot at liberating the Republican Party from Trump and conservatism from Trumpism, Kristol told the Liberal Times reporter before tweeting that the task in 2020 is to oust Trump. But if he's so worried about conservatism, why is he saying rebrand as liberals? It doesn't add up. Why? Because he is not a conservative. But as I said, Kristol is plotting to primary oust Trump and must take one shot at removing the POTUS. Bill Kristol, prominent never-Trumper and one of the nation's security advisor, H.R. McMaster's fierce defender and ally, is reportedly scheming to primary or oust President Donald Trump so Republicans do not renominate him in 2020. I want to see how he actually does that. I want to see how he takes his one shot at supposedly liberating the Republican Party from Trump. What he's done is Trump has saved the Republican Party. The only thing that's keeping them going right now is Trump. They don't have anything else really right now. And I'm not trying to knock the party. Just they did not. Their self-evaluation really wasn't a self-evaluation that they talk about. They did this big dissection. The only reason why they won that presidential election is the way Trump ran it. Any other Republicans, whether I liked them or not, I liked Cruz. I don't think he could have beat Hillary Clinton. Jeb Bush couldn't have won. Lindsey Graham had no shot. Marco Rubio, no. None of them had. John Kasich, yeah. He should have dropped out he should have never stayed in as long as he did. He was like a little Klingon. And he just hung on. It was an embarrassment. If anything, Cruz ought to be pissed at Kasich because Kasich was stealing votes away from Cruz and his shot at winning the primary. The only way they won was Trump was willing to fight back. Republicans are too scared to fight back. You're starting to see him wake up now. But under Kristol, he wants them to play second fiddle to the Democrat. There's no difference between a Democrat and Kristol. You can label somebody anything. Hell, I can call myself the Pope. Doesn't make me the Pope. If I don't act it and I don't, belong to the church, so it's, I'm not trying to knock Christianity or the Pope. It's just a saying I always heard. You say you're the Pope all you want doesn't make you the Pope. For some reason, it just sticks to me when you have Cristal sitting there crying that he's this big conservative, but his actions never speak that he is. On Twitter, Cristal, the limelighting-seeking saboteur, seemed proud that he was again quoted in a legacy media paper, tweeting out the article and saying the task in 2020 is to oust Trump. He even suggested Never Trumpers should rebrand themselves as liberals. And again, what? How does that even make sense? I wish someone could explain to me how labeling conservatives liberals, which is pretty much a term reserved for Democrats. Not all Democrats are liberals, but all liberals are Democrats type deal. So I don't understand how rebranding themselves as liberal has anything to do with the GOP. Seeing what little relevance, hey, Melanie, he had was slipping away during the 2016 election cycle. Cristal spent most of the cycle trying to undermine Trump and get Hillary Clinton elected. There's another big shocker. He was trying to get a Democrat elected. He attempted to draft National Review's David French to be his Never Trump candidate. Like a failed AAA manager desperately trying to find even a high school team to allow him to coach, Cristal then worked with Rick put a bullet in Trump Wilson to draft an even more uninspiring candidate in Evan McMullen. That guy sucked the energy out of a room. McMullen, aided by supposedly the smartest tactician and pundit in the world who think they are so brilliant every day on Twitter, ran an embarrassing campaign that did not even resonate with voters in Utah. Here's the funny thing. You get these idiots and they're on Twitter and they go and they mock you and they think they're smarter than everybody else. And I had several of them attacking me during the campaign. And I mean, they verbally went at me, insults, threats, everything, telling me how much smarter they are than me. Trump could never win. He could never do the job. They're better than everybody else. You didn't know what you were talking about. You were nowhere near correct on Trump. All your little schemes and plans failed. I think I'm going to start calling Bill Cristal Wile E. Coyote. Except he's not a super genius, but all of his plans seem to blow up in his face. As of May of 2017, McMullen's failed campaign that was used as a vehicle for operatives to get paychecks and Never Trump pundits to quote in legacy media outlets and make TV appearances were nearly a whopping $700,000 in debt to career political professionals whom Trump's success as a candidate threatened to put out of business. The Times article also mentioned Never Trumpers like Ben Sass and Governor John Don't Call Me Hickenlooper or Huntsman Kasich, along with some Trump administration like Vice President Mike Pence and Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley, potentially keeping their option open for 2020 in case Trump for some reason is unable to run. Senator Tom Cotton, who effectively praised McMaster and reportedly was one of the senators who pushed the White House to replace former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn with McMaster, is also mentioned in the piece. Pence's ambitious Chief of Staff Nick Ayers, according to the article, has signaled to multiple major Republican donors that Pence wants to be ready in case Trump is unable to run for re-election. Bill Cristal tweeted out, liberating the Republican Party from Trump and conservatism from Trumpism. Vice President Mike Pence appears to be cementing his status as President Trump's heir apparent, promoting himself as the conduit between Republican donors and the administration. Republican shadow campaign for 2020 takes shape as Trump's doubts grow. You know, I keep hearing how he's, failing. Everything's going down. It's funny because everybody I talk to is happy with what he's doing, his policies that he's putting forth. They love the economy is going better, jobs. The only ones that have the doom and gloom are never Trumpers and mainstream media. Oh, let's not forget the Democrat Party. But they've been screaming the sky is falling since the day of the election. So I don't exactly believe any of them when what I'm seeing in reality doesn't add up. You're listening to the Reaver of Common Sense right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio. We will be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
You have been listening to Reaver of Common Sense, hosted by my dad, Jersey Joe. Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplains.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying cat for the stupid throat.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the Southside Mud Show with its hosts, the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, where we will be digging up the dirt.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
If you miss a show, don't worry. You can catch the replays two ways, rebootingliberty.com or the reaverofcommonsense.com. While you're there on Reaver of Common Sense, don't forget, drop in your email and keep up to date with everything going on, or click the like button on the Facebook widget. Now on to the Reaver of Common Sense.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show. And welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense. I am your host, Jersey Joe, and I'm trying to make sense out of the senseless. Well, where are we at? Oh. Still, this weekend was great. It was so much fun. I was surprised how many shark teeth we fossilized shark teeth. It was amazing. Hang on. Still tired. Maxine Waters. It's just getting too funny. There's a Democrat activist. Democrats have no reason to try to make bipartisan legislative deals with President Trump and should instead wait until next year when outspoken Democrat Maxine Waters leads the House and Chuck Schumer leads the Senate. Democrat activist Robert Padalou or whatever. Democrats looking at a president hovering around 30% approval rating. We can argue that approval rating, and I have, especially when you look at those that say his approval rating is so low, they have a tendency to have a higher number of Democrats and independents in the poll and young people. So their approval ratings aren't even accurate. Have no reason to run into burning buildings and try to put it out when they should instead just wait for 2018 when they have Speaker of the House Maxine Waters and Senate Leader Chuck Schumer. They actually think Nancy Pelosi is going to give up, and if anybody that Maxine Waters would take over as the House Minority Leader, and I'm sorry, still. They think they're going to take over the House. That, anything is possible, but I think that is a major delusion. There's too much big numbers that they got to overcome. But if the Democrat or the Republicans don't get off their ass, there can always be an upset. But right now, I don't see it. Waters, a California congresswoman, has been one of Trump's most outspoken Democrat critics, with her calls to impeach him creating a buzz about a possible 2020 bid. The comments presumes Democrats next year would retake control of the House and Senate, and that Waters would unseat now House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi of California, who has been the chamber's top Democrat for roughly the past 11 years. Schumer of New York is now the Senate Minority Leader. Democrats next year would have to win a net total of 24 House seats. Republicans now hold 52 to 48 majority in the Senate, but Democrats next year must defend 25 seats compared to just 8 for Republicans. Now, what is it? Something like 10 of those 25 seats are in Trump-won states and won in large numbers. I'm going to stick by what I said. I think before November of 2018, we're going to get some kind of tax reform and health bill done. You're not going to see it get done right now. It's too far out from election. Damn it. And they need something right before the elections to give them a really big boost. You're going to see that right before the election. It's going to push them up, and they're going to, I think, number one, they're going to keep majority in the House, and I think they can hit 60 in the Senate because people are seeing the Democrats as being nothing but obstructionists, and they're going to give Republicans a chance. If they get 60 and they can't do shit, then the Republicans would be in deep shit in 2020. I think people are going to give, a little bit more leeway because they understand without majority leader or super majority numbers in the Senate, they can't do diddly. Now, if after 2018 nothing gets done, then Republicans are in trouble for 2020. It's the Democrats have gone too much of the sky is falling, too much every day's doom and gloom, and it's not equaling up to what we see out there. But every day we hear from the Democrats how something is getting torn apart. What do we hear constantly? And worse than before, it keeps getting worse. They know it's not working, but we keep hearing the racist comments, the sexist, the xenophobe, all that. They don't give up on it. And they're pissing off more and more people. But I think within the Republican Party, it doesn't look good for Jeff Flake. I like Flake for him because it fits his personality. His numbers are in the toilet. I don't think he's going to survive a primary, which is good. Get him out of there. Get Ben Sass out of there. Get a couple of these so-called Republicans out of there and get some true conservatism in there, and let's get to work. Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi are doing so much for the Republican Party. I don't want to see them go anywhere. You also have, on Friday's broadcast of ABC's The View, Representative Maxine Waters stated that after Donald Trump is impeached, Vice President Mike Pence won't be a better president than Trump and should be impeached as well. One of the show's hosts, Joy Bear, asked, do you think Pence will be better than Trump if he were impeached? No, and when we finish with Trump, Maxine Waters says, we have to go and get Putin. He's next. Bear then asked Waters if she meant Putin or Pence, and Waters classified she meant Pence. So her big thing, and it's been said before, that's the idea. And then Ryan will take over, and then they'll have him impeached, and they'll keep going until a Democrat takes over. They can't win a fucking election, so what do? They're going to try to attempt a coup. And they've been doing everything they can to attempt it. And this bullshit Russian investigation is just perfect example. They still have zero evidence, zero proof. And I'll get the phone call from my mom. What about their grand jury being convened? Yeah, man. Don't mean shit, Mom. It's very common for them to use that. It's witnesses, evidence. It's been said multiple times, and Deputy Attorney General says if Mueller wants to expand the investigation, he has to get permission. He cannot just start looking into finances of Trump and all that and their businesses. He has to get permission, which he is not, from what we're hearing, has not happened and has not received. It's the mainstream media blowing shit out of proportion, trying to keep the Trump-Russia story alive. Nothing more, nothing else. They're just trying to keep it alive. They think it is helping them. All the polls that I see and everybody I talk to, they don't give a rat's ass. They don't believe all the bullshit. The only ones that care about it are Democrats and mainstream media. Mainstream media, it gives them something to talk about. Even Democrats, they're trying to back away from it. They're trying to back away. And they're coming up with stupid, what was it, Ken Oberman? It's Trump that's keeping the Russia story. We're trying to move past it. They're going to try to blame everybody else. But it's not going to work. The American people are not that dumb. I mean, this is how frantic they are. You have Maxine Waters, and then during an interview in New York's Power 105.1 FM Breakfast Club, Representative Maxine Waters stated that President Trump's behavior during the campaign is part of the reason she started calling for his impeachment, and says she believes Trump will be impeached by December. Yeah. Waters said that she saw Trump was a deplorable human being early in the campaign and didn't have any good values. She continued that right after Trump got elected, she started talking about impeaching him because not only the way that he conducted himself during the campaign, but we learned a lot about his allies and association who had ties to Russia and to the Ukraine and to the oils. Now she throws in Ukraine when it is Hillary Clinton who has the direct connection to Ukraine. And that's what they do. They taint their enemies with their weaknesses. So she's going to try to now start tying him to Ukraine because there's an investigation getting started into Hillary Clinton and her campaign and the DNC to Ukraine. So she's going to try, and she has to bring in, because they always do, about oil. It just, oh my God. I'd like to know what she learned about his allies and his associations and tie to Russia, because I have seen zero proof, zero evidence. She keeps yipping her gums, and I keep hearing Democrats yip their gums about it. They make a lot of accusations, but they never back them up. But God forbid you accuse Hillary Clinton of breaking the law. They fucking lose their mind and start accusing you of all this shit. How dare you make an accusation without any proof? And what the hell do they do nonstop? That's all they do. That's all they've done to Trump, is make accusations with zero proof. She added, I believe it is possible to impeach him. How long is it going to take? I don't know, but I give it till about December. Our new special counsel, Mr. Mueller, has impaneled a grand jury, as you know, as of yesterday, and they will be involved with investigations, and they can do indictments also. So little by little, drip by drip, it's happening. Shows how much she knows. Even an idiot like me knows that grand juries don't mean an indictment is forthcoming. It just means they're out to get some information, maybe get a testimony. That's it. It's not this big, exuberant, oh my God, he's going to get locked up. And what she's also doing, and why I say I like her, is she is giving false hope. And what's going to happen when nothing happens in December? She's going to look like an idiot. She's going to let these people down. Just as they've been screaming they were going to have him impeached before he got in office. The first day they were going to put paperwork in, it never happened. And it just keeps going and going, and nothing happens, and they look like a bunch of losers. And I hate them use language like that. I know people will get upset. Oh, you can't call them losers. That's what they're going to look like when nothing happens. What is she going to do when nothing happens? She'll blame Republicans covering it up and all this, and people are going to be laughing at her. But Waters then stated that, that will get Vice President Mike Pence next if he becomes president. Wait a minute, if he becomes president. Well, if you impeach Trump, he's next in line to become president. Shows how little she knows. It just boggles my mind how, if we could, I understand why the Republicans never did it. They knew it would never pass. That's why they never put impeachment paperwork in on Obama. They were smart on that. I'll give them credit. They were smart because it would have given power to the Democrats. But what's funny is how come every time we have a Republican president anymore, they keep putting in impeachment papers? I know it happened underneath Bill Clinton. He lied. He outright lied. We all know he did. He was allowed to get away with it. They put it in on George Bush. Democrats are looking like a bunch of whiny bitches that can't accept the loss. You're listening to the Reaver of Common Sense right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, and we will be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
You have been listening to Reaver of Common Sense, hosted by my dad, Jersey Joe. Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying Catholic, stupid bro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the Southside Mutt Show with its hosts, the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, where we will be digging up the dirt.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
If you miss a show, don't worry. You can catch the replays two ways, rebootingliberty.com or the reaverofcommonsense.com. While you're there on Reaver of Common Sense, don't forget, drop in your email and keep up to date with everything going on, or click the like button on the Facebook widget. Now on to the Reaver of Common Sense.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show. And welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense. I am your host, Jersey Joe, and I'm trying to make sense out of the senseless. The Jersey Takeover's here. We have expanded to 2 hours every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hate when I have to talk to myself. Where the hell is it? Christmas. I know I got a sound bite for this next one, but I can't seem to find where I have the shortcut. Because I'm a blonde. Yeah. Dang it. I know I should have did this during the break. I know. Did everybody see Jay Cutler has postponed his broadcasting debut and has signed with the Dolphins 1 year, $10 million? Yeah, it's so much for they were saying they think it's a minor injury to Ryan. What is it, Tannehill? But I'm sorry, you paying a guy $10 million for 1 year. They're expecting him to be playing all year. Oh, yeah, right. I think right here it is. Wait, George, I think I got it. Just want to make sure it loads up. Then we'll get going. Because I screwed up. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I thought I'd have a commercial pop up. Don't you hate this when you get these commercials that pop up anymore? I can't take them with my TV. So, all right, what we have is Chris Matthews says middle America is too stupid to understand Russia. Delusional Chris Matthews left MSNBC viewers scratching their heads on Monday, bizarrely claiming that non-urban areas such as Colorado and Wyoming weren't reading enough Russia-Trump conspiracy stories because they lack serious newspapers that continue the never-ending witch hunt. While poll after poll show American public is increasingly dissatisfied in articles regarding Russian meddling in the 2016 general election, Matthews blames small-town papers for their inability to adequately cover the international stories. Quote, I think part of that is the loss of newspapers in many parts of the country. I was just out in the West with my wife. We were driving around in Colorado and Utah and Wyoming. There's no local big serious newspaper, said Matthews. You don't pick it up in the morning when you go down the driveway or whatever the mailbox. There's not a newspaper that tells you what's going on nationally. There's a local newspaper that are okay, but the days where people had a pretty good newspaper to read. So how are you going to keep up with Russia? Even if you're slightly interested, there's no story for you to read. That's a fact. I guess this idiot has never heard of something called the internet. And yes, even those states like Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, they have internet. Yes, they do have it, Matthews. They do have it. And guess what? You can get on it. National news. They can read about your bullshit Russia story. So here's the jackass talking about it.
Nixon resigned. He still had a 50% approval rating among Republicans. So, I mean, the support among the conservative base should not be surprising. But at the same time, it also shows you that Trump is going to have a certain amount of durability going into 2018 and 2020 even. I just don't. Their strategy is go protect the base, keep what you have, and attack your opponent mercilessly.
I think you got a point, but I think part of that is the loss of newspapers in many parts of the country. I was just out in the West with my wife. We're driving around and, in Colorado and Utah and Wyoming. There's no local big serious newspaper. And the Denver papers, you don't pick up this morning when you go down the driveway or whatever, the mailbox. There's not a newspaper that tells you what's going on nationally. They're local newspapers that are okay, but the days where people had a pretty good newspaper to read. So how do you going to keep up with Russia?
Well,
if you're even slightly interested in it, there's no story for you to read. That's
that's
I love how they're kind of looking at him. They're like, what's a newspaper? I'm serious. They just have this look like, really? Oh, God, this guy's an idiot. God. If it wasn't for Democrats, I'd be on the couch relaxing, watching TV, talking with my wife right now. Sanctuary Cities objects to arrest of accused illegal alien child molester. You have seen Democrats, liberals, whatever headline you want to give them, complain about attacking MS-13. They've complained about going after illegal aliens. Now they're protecting a child molester. Officials in one California sanctuary city are upset after an immigration agent arrested an illegal alien facing child molestation charges and another previously deported 3 times prior. The recent arrest took place in Hayward, California, when officers with U.S. Immigration Custom Enforcement were looking for an illegal immigrant, but in the course of their investigation, they found 42-year-old Jose Salgado and 34-year-old Antonio Valenzuela. Oh, and now what is it? They're trying to, they banned ICE agents from entering state buildings that were trying to arrest illegal aliens that are working for the state of California. So the state of California knows it is employing illegal aliens, which is a federal penalty for businesses to do it. They get penalized, but the state building is employing illegal aliens openly. But yeah, there's no double standard when it comes to who has to follow what laws. The arrest took place during an operation by ICE officers who were carrying out an enforcement operation targeting another individual in an unrelated case. They determined that both men were in the country illegally and detained them. Salgado was arrested earlier this year by local authorities on a felony charge involving lewd and lascivious acts with a minor. Prior to his recent arrest by ICE agents, Salgado had not been previously encountered by federal authorities. In the case of Venezuela, the Mexican national was previously deported 3 times and had 1 conviction of driving under the influence, but both men remained in federal custody. Soon after the arrest, Hayward officials issued a statement expressing their concern over federal immigration's arrest in the city. According to the statement, the circumstances leading to the arrest are concerning because of the prominent impact on the trust our officers and local government seek to maintain with all members of our community. How many times do I have to say? We have Democrats openly protecting criminals. If I did it, I'd go to jail for it. Why do these officials not do it? You start arresting these officials, and you'll see this shit stop real quick. Get them arrested, get them indicted, give them the trial, get them convicted, and you'll start seeing this shit stop real quick. Especially you start high up. And you know what? It's going to trickle down, because if they see that you have a higher up politicians getting arrested and charged, they know that they can be taken any moment. As a matter of policy, HPD and the city of Hayward employees do not seek to learn the immigration status of people with whom they come in contact in the course of providing law enforcement and other public services. No HPD officer or Hayward City employee may assist federal official in the enforcement of U.S. immigration laws. We are committed to equal treatment of all of our residents, regardless of immigration status. It just... Then they wonder why we have so many people that choose to do whatever the hell they want, that they choose to break the law so willingly. When we have public officials doing it openly in defiance, and why shouldn't other people start to fall into that? The city's refusal to cooperate with federal law enforcement officials in the enforcement of immigration laws follows a June 6 announcement where officials sought classifications of sanctuary status. Fostering a relationship of trust, respect, and open communication between city officials and residents is essential to the city's mission. The city's statement on the status revealed. Arrest them. U.S. Code 1324. Done. Jeff Sessions, get off your ass and do something about this. I'm getting sick and tired of seeing two levels of law. One for them and one for us. Because it never works out good for any government, any nation, when it's run on this style. Sooner or later, the people get tired of it and revolt. Now, I'm not calling for a revolution. I'm not calling for civil war. I'm not calling for any of that. But if history has taught us anything, it has taught us that after a while, the people get tired of being shit on by elitists, and that's how governments crumble. Ow. Hate when that happens. Former Obama chief of staff, Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel, announced the city is suing feds on sanctuary city policies. I just they're breaking the law, and they're going to sue the federal government because they're breaking the law and getting punished for it. You know, let's see. Let me go out and get arrested. Let me go break the law. Let me go rob a bank and then sue the state for arresting me, for detaining me after I've broken the law. You would think that I lost my goddamn mind, but yet we sit there and there's people applauding the mayor for suing the federal government for enforcing a policy because they are breaking the law. Oh, my God. Why do we need laws then? If we're just going to ignore them, what, we switch to become Democrats? We could just ignore any law we want? That's what it's coming down to. They're protecting child molesters. They're protecting people who break into our country, ignore our laws. What other laws are they willing to break? They've already proven that they're willing to break our laws to get what they want. It's not a far stretch to think that they would go rob a store to get some money, sell drugs, you know, whatever. I'm not saying all immigrants are going to do that, but you know what? They've already shown that they're willing to break laws to get what they want. We have these officials that just ignore law, make up their own set of rules. It's fucking ridiculous anymore. Our country's turning into a joke, led by the Democrat Party. And what will be our downfall? We were a country of laws. We're turning into a country of what laws can we ignore anymore? I guess as long as I could blame a Republican for it, I can go break any law I want. I'm not saying you go do that. It's a friggin' joke anymore. Going to hit a break real quick, and we're going to go on with this article and continue on with the show. You're listening to the Reaver of Common Sense right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio. We will be right back.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
You have been listening to Reaver of Common Sense, hosted by my dad, Jersey Joe. Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying cat for the stupid bro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking, drinking, drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the Southside Mutt Show with its hosts, the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, where we will be digging up the dirt.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
If you miss a show, don't worry. You can catch the replays two ways, rebootingliberty.com or the Reaver of Common Sense.com. While you're there on Reaver of Common Sense, don't forget, drop in your email and keep up to date with everything going on, or click the like button on the Facebook widget. Now on to the Reaver of Common Sense.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show. And welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense. I'm your host, Jersey Joe, and I'm here trying to make sense out of the senseless. The Jersey Takeover is expanding to 2 hours every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to watch a live stream, go to Reaver.one and click on the SHR TV button. It's not easy. Oh. What were we talking about? Where were we? Oh, the former Obama chief of staff, Chicago Mayor Raheem Emanuel. He announces the city is suing feds on the sanctuary city policy for its effort to enforce the nation's immigration law, calling the Department of Justice announcement that cities who harbor illegal aliens won't be eligible for federal grants funding an assault on their fundamental rights. Chicago will not let our police officers become political pawns in a debate, Emmanuel, a Democrat, said at a news conference on Sunday, according to Reuters. Chicago will not let our residents have their fundamental rights isolated and violated, and Chicago will never relinquish our status as a welcoming city. The federal lawsuit comes less than 2 weeks after Attorney General Jeff Sessions announced the U.S. Justice Department would bar cities from a certain grant program unless they allow immigration authorities unlimited access to local jails and provide 48-hour notice before releasing anyone wanted for immigration violations, Reuters reports. On July 25th, Attorney General Jeff Sessions announced that state and local law enforcement would be notified about new requirements for receiving Brian JAG grants to fund local enforcement-related programs. What's funny is these programs are grant programs. They're not guaranteed. They're not entitled to it. You have to meet certain requirements to even apply for these grants, and they're putting in this as a requirement, and oh my God! Well, there's a lot of programs that a lot of police departments aren't eligible before because they don't meet the requirements for those grants. I don't see them running around suing every 5 minutes. Maybe Chicago should either, okay, we're not going to get that money because we choose to break the law. It's that simple. They're choosing to break the law. They're choosing not to meet the requirements for that grant. Now they want to complain that they're entitled to that grant. The liberals, they think they're entitled to everything. It's fucking sickening. Recipients for the fiscal year 2017 will be notified of new conditions of their grant that will increase information sharing between federal and state and local law enforcement, ensuring that federal immigration authorities have the information they need to enforce immigration laws and keep our communities safe, the DOJ announced. But it's okay when they blackmail the public, when the Democrats blackmailed us into buying a product or be fined. Be taxed. Sorry, taxes everybody pays. Fines are what's given to you when you do not when you disobey a law. I don't know. Maybe I'm losing my mind. I don't know. So-called sanctuary policies make all of us less safe because they intentionally undermine our laws and protect illegal aliens who have committed crimes, Sessions said on the occasion of the notice. These policies also encourage illegal immigration and even human trafficking by perpetuating the lie that in certain cities, illegal aliens can live outside the law. Sessions said the policy is consistent with long-established cooperative principles among law enforcement agencies. This is what American people should be able to expect from their cities and states. And these long overdue requirements will help us take down MS-13 and other violent transnational gangs and make our country safer. In March, Sessions announced the policy directed at states and cities that have adopted policies designed to frustrate the enforcement of our immigration laws. This includes refusing to detain known felons under federal detainer requests or otherwise failing to comply with these laws. For example, the Department of Homeland Security recently issued a report showing that in a single week, there are more than 200 instances of jurisdictions refusing to honor ICE detainer requests with respect to individuals charged or convicted of a serious crime. The charges and conviction against these aliens include drug trafficking, hit and run, rape, sex offenses against children, and even murder. Sessions made these statements urging state and local jurisdictions to comply with federal law, specifically 8 U.S. Code Section 1373, in order to receive grants. The Trump administration proposal budget requests $380 million in that funding for 2018, with Chicago slated to receive $3.2 million for equipment for law enforcement operations. Justice Department spokeswoman Sarah Flowers said in a statement issued to the Associated Press on Sunday that the mayor should be focused on staggering statistics on homicide in Chicago. In 2016, more Chicagoans were murdered than in New York City and Los Angeles combined. So it's especially tragic that the mayor is less concerned with that staggering figure than he is in spending time and taxpayers' money protecting criminal aliens and putting Chicago law enforcement at greater risk. And what it comes down to is now the left are declaring apartheid if non-citizens not allowed to vote. As municipalities in deep blue Maryland continue to grant legal and illegal aliens access to ballot box, one leftist is pushing for a larger movement to combat the mass disenfranchisement of non-U.S. citizens in the Trump era. College Park, Maryland, home to the main campus of the University of Maryland and roughly 20,000 residents overall, is currently reviewing a policy that would open regular ballot access to illegal aliens for a municipal election. So people that are not citizens of the United States can now vote in this municipality. I wonder if I could vote. Since I'm a citizen of the United States, I may not live in that town, but I should be able to vote in that town then. So should you. Everybody should be able to vote in that town. Hell, why don't we all just vote for everything everywhere? Why can't I vote for the president of France, Germany? That's what they're saying. They want these illegals to allow to be vote. Why shouldn't I be allowed to vote everywhere else in the world then? If all these non-citizens can vote in our country, then make it open that I can start voting in everybody else's countries. So I'd sure love to push my conservatism into some of these communistic bastard of a countries. Probably help out Germany in their rape session that's going on. Sexual assault on women because you got a friggin' prime minister, that wants to allow Muslims to come in and attack their women. Oh, it's unbelievable. They want the freedom. But if we, as Americans, want to start voting everybody else's elections, oh, no, especially if you're conservative, oh, no, you don't have nothing to do with this country. They're always sticking their nose in ours. And it's apartheid. Oh, God. Oh, my God. I just want to go bang my head off a wall. I really do. These people drive me nuts. Oh. While the town would be the largest to do so in the Mid-Atlantic to allow illegals to vote, it would not be the first. The Baltimore Sun reports that College Park would be the 11th city between Montgomery and Prince Georgia counties, both sharing boundaries with Washington, D.C. The legality of such proposals and policies are not under question in Maryland, which is why the illegal alien voting rights movement sees consistent success. State law has allowed for townships to determine voter eligibility for municipality elections going back to the mid-1800s. The local paper notes that Barnesville and Montgomery County maintains the longest-running rule dating back to 1918. The trend began picking up steam in the 1970s, with larger jurisdictions joining in thereafter. The Sun also adds that a certain foreign influence in election has come into play. Support for non-citizens voting here has also been driven by the large number of diplomatic staff who work in Washington and live in Maryland suburbs. Justification for illegal alien voting rights tend to follow a similar track in local and national debates. Perhaps the most common argument is we have allowed them to vote before angle. While the United States has experimented with franchise eligibility over the ages, certain federal laws prohibit any non-U.S. citizen from participating in an election, much less registering to vote. Felony convictions, deportation, and barriers to nationalizations are all intended deterrents. despite the fact that no requirement rests on voter registrations to verify claims of citizens during the process. Other liberal states show serious conversations on illegal alien voting increased recently. One activist in California is now dialing up the rhetoric well beyond historic claims and appeals to broadening democracy, favoring political overtones. Joe Matthew writes in the Sacramento Bee that it's time to go on the offensive against Donald Trump's larger concerns for election integrity by empowering non-citizens to vote. They can't win with the American people, so they got to chuck in people. Given Trump's threat to both immigrant and democracy, this is the moment to give the franchise back to non-citizens, Matthews argues. He also compares California to an apartheid state until it grants voting rights to all present. California is home to about 5 million adults. That's 1 in 6 adults who can't vote because they're not citizens. This mass disenfranchisement is an affront to American principle. Taxation without representation. Non-citizens pay tax but are not represented. Consent of the governed. Non-citizens must follow our laws but cannot vote to consent. Home of the brave. Non-citizens serve in the military but can't vote for the government that sends them to war. We Californians tolerate this apartheid, even though the lesser statute of non-citizens, especially the 2 million plus undocumented Californians, makes them more vulnerable to abuse and removal from the country they've helped build. To its credit, California has taken steps on behalf of non-citizens who now enjoy in-state tuition to our public university, driver's license, the ability to practice the law, and if they are children, state-funded health care. Rather than admitting that the reference actions are pathways to naturalization, the activists contend that California won't be equal until all have ballots, only further blurring the distinctions between citizen and not. The column laminates the fact, however, that Governor Jerry Brown serves as a major impediment to statewide change, given his record of opposing such matters. While Maryland and select portions of New York, California, and Illinois struggle with granting voting rights to illegal aliens, Virginia was recently reported to be identified and removing non-U.S. citizens from voter rolls at an alarming rate. The Public Interest Legal Foundation found more than 5,500 voters were canceled by the Commonwealth over citizenship concerns in May. Local clerks in Maryland report that steps are taken to keep illegal aliens from voting in races they are not eligible for. Should elections be held on the same day? Tacoma Park told the Baltimore paper that separate registration lists are kept to prevent ballot confusion. The College Park City Council is slated to debate the measure on Tuesday, August 8th. Well, I guess why don't we flood that debate? We should. Doesn't matter if we're not citizens, our residents. I mean, hell, they're trying to allow non-citizens the ability to vote. What does district matter then at that point? And if I was close enough, I would go to it. It's absolutely a joke anymore. They want to do whatever they want to do. And they know the only way they're going to win anymore is they have to bring in these illegals. That's the only way they're going to win. They got to stack the vote. And it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. You're listening to the Reaver of Common Sense right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, and we will be right back.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website, click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
You have been listening to Reaver of Common Sense, hosted by my dad, Jersey Joe. Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplains.dailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying Catholic, stupid bro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking, drinking, drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the Southside Mutt Show with its host, the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, where we will be digging up the dirt.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
If you miss a show, don't worry. You can catch the replays two ways, rebootingliberty.com or the Reaver of Common Sense.com. While you're there on Reaver of Common Sense, don't forget, drop in your email and keep up to date with everything going on, or click the like button on the Facebook widget. Now on to the Reaver of Common Sense.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show. And welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense. I am your host, Jersey Joe, trying to make sense out of the senseless. I don't know. As it's been reported multiple ways, Eric Bolling has been suspended by Fox News amidst claims of inappropriate behavior. Now, it's going back several years ago. He supposedly sent these photos in a text to a couple of females. I always ask, why does it take 5, 6, 7, 10 years for him to come forward when it's almost impossible to prove or disprove at that point? And it's funny that Huffington Post Shit. Check 1, 2. Check. All right. For some reason, just all of a sudden, my mic just kicked out there. Out of nowhere, it just gone. Sorry about that. It's funny. It's the Huffington Post that reported the allegations. And it's when I read the original article, it was like 14 unanimous sources have told us. Something doesn't sit right when I start seeing that. I'm sorry. I don't find that credible when I start seeing a bunch of unanimous sources. It's funny how this is the same allegation that's going on. And it just seems like liberals are attacking conservative voices. Again, they can't win with facts, so they're trying to silence conservatives. But only time will tell to see what happens. I don't understand how, and I'm not trying to say just because it didn't happen right away, it didn't happen. But it's weird how always we hear these accusations so many years later. We had it with Trump during the election. All of a sudden, 20 years later, someone's making this accusation. It doesn't equal out, and they have the same connection to the same people going back to the, a lot of these allegations. Now all of a sudden they're just starting to come forward. Supposedly one of them has connections back to O'Reilly. Well, when she made the accusations against O'Reilly, why didn't she come forward about Eric Bolin? It's just too weird. Too many questions that are opening up with it that makes me really concerned that this is just another attempt to silence a conservative. It makes me wonder. There's too many questions. All right, let's see where we're at. But yeah, Eric Bolin's been suspended for right now during an investigation. We'll see how that plays out. All right. So Rosenstein, who's the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who, whatever you think about Chris Christie, he makes a good point. On Sunday, tempered news reports about special counsel Robert Mueller impaneling another grand jury in his Russia meddling collusion case, suggesting the move doesn't mean the investigation is expanding or perhaps an indictment is now imminent. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein attended a briefing at the Justice Department on Wednesday, August 4, 2017, on leaks of classified material threatened national security 1 week after President Donald Trump complained that he was weak on preventing such disclosures. It doesn't say that anything about the likelihood of indictments, Rosenstein told Fox News Sunday. It's just the tools that we use like any other tool in the course of our investigation. Now, it's been said, and I'm going to keep saying it because it tells you something. With all the leaks that we have going on, all the goddamn leaks, if there was one piece of evidence that linked Trump to collusion, one piece, it would have leaked by now. It would have been put out there. So all these people that are running their mouth about Trump and Russian collusion would be like, see, here we have proof. We have proof. We have proof. But nothing has come out. Because there is nothing. This grand jury is just another tool. Rosenstein appointed Mueller in May to lead a federal investigation into whether the Trump campaign colluded with Russia to influence the outcome of 2016 White House race after Attorney General Jeff Sessions recused himself from the probe. Rosenstein declined to comment on the specifics of the case, or on whether Mueller had indeed impaneled another grand jury, in addition to one reportedly looking into the financial records of Michael Flynn. Flynn, a retired Army lieutenant general who was a campaigner for Donald Trump, was fired as White House National Security Advisor after failing to fully disclose at least one conversation with a Russian official. Everybody freaks out, and if anybody remembered, Obama had to replace people when he first started because they did some things that ended up being, well, illegal. He had officials that were in Moscow holding private meetings with Russia. He had officials in Iran, I think it was, that held meetings, and one held meetings with Hamas officials, a known terrorist group. So, when these presidents first get in, shit happens like that. Nothing was made big. Republicans didn't make a big stink over Obama with it because it happens. I don't think Mike Flynn was intentionally doing that. I mean, Jesus Christ, there's conversations that happen all the time. I forget I fucking have. I forget what I had goddamn for lunch. Holy shit, it's ridiculous. Rosenstein made clear Sunday that using a grand jury is an appropriate way to gather documents and to bring in witnesses to make sure that you get their full testimony. Amid report that Mueller might be going beyond the defined scope of his investigation to dive into Trump's financial record, Rosenstein said the Justice Department doesn't engage in fishing expedition. Rosenstein also said Mueller, a former federal prosecutor and FBI director, would need special permission to pursue matters beyond the original scope of the investigation. Now, Christie, a former federal prosecutor, made similar comments about a grand jury's power to issue subpoenas and gather information while downplaying the news about Mueller's purportedly having impaneled another one, reported first by Wall Street Journal. The coverage about how monumental this is just as a fundamental misunderstanding of the way the process works, Christie said on CNN's State of the Union. He called Mueller's use of the jury a normal step taken by a careful prosecutor who is doing a thorough investigation. Done. No matter what you might think of Chris Christie and his faux pas and his beach faux pas, he still was a pretty damn good federal prosecutor. So it's all being blown out of proportion for ratings. No. Mainstream media wouldn't do that, would they? No. Oh, boy. And then you have, Democrats, Senator Blumenthal. That moron. Any kind of crime is fair for the special prosecutor to pursue. According on Friday's broadcast of CNN out front, Senator Richard Blumenthal argued that it would be fair for special counsel Robert Mueller to pursue any kind of crime. Anchor Ari Burnett asked Blumenthal, what about if they're looking at financials and they find a financial crime but is not related to the election or to Russia? Is that fair games as it was for President Clinton? Blumenthal answered for the special counsel to be pursuing financial crimes or dealings that may lead him to charge others, like Michael Flynn, with financial crimes, and then for Michael Flynn to provide evidence that's relevant to collusion and conspiracy between Trump and campaign and Russia, also as well within the mandatory of the special counsel. I wish they were this thorough with Hillary Clinton. I wish we had a special counsel for Hillary Clinton with Benghazi, with emails, with selling uranium to Russia. Oh, the list goes on and on. But of course, Democrats would never play fair. They always try to keep the upper hand. And Blumenthal is a blooming idiot. He thinks he's protected by the Clintons because he's a good buddy of theirs. It's so tiresome. I mean, it gives an easy show to do when you have idiots like this. But at the same time, it's so tiresome doing the same thing over and over again. Because you have to talk about it because, I mean, I get my mother calling, oh my God, look what's going on. Look what's going on. No, Mom, it's not that. It's being blown out of proportion majorly. I don't know. But if you looked at what Trump has actually accomplished, he's done actually a pretty damn good job. And the stuff he's doing is being done in the background. And you don't realize it's going on. That's the funny part. You don't realize all this is going on in the background. Yeah, I'm trying to find something. As much as Trump's made a few hiccups along the way, it is still the good has outweighed, in my opinion, the bad. Trying to pull an article up because it had some good points in it. No. There's a question whether Trump is a failed president already. He's only been in office, what? A couple months? January. 6 months, something like that. And he's a failed president. No, he isn't. Still got a lot more to go. He's enacted more legislative and signed more executive order in the first 100 days than any president in half a century. He's enacted 28 pieces of legislation, more than any other president since Truman. Signed 25 executive orders in the first 100 days. Achieved first Supreme Court confirmation in 100 days since 1881. Instituted tough immigration policies that have driven illegal border crossings to a 17-year low. Removed more job-killing regulations through legislative than any president in U.S. history. Has saved already $18 billion annually. Economic optimism has been renewed with consumer confidence reaching its highest level in 16 years. Ordered the toughest new rules to stop the revolving door between Washington lobbyists and government officials in history. Job creation, stronger enforcement of trade guidelines, approving permits for the Keystone and Dakota Access Pipeline, study into using American material in future pipeline construction, withdrawing from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, historic partnership with the private sector, immigration, ordering a freeze and study of immigration from areas comprised by terrorism, halting funding to sanctuary cities, increasing number of immigration enforcement personnel, established commission on opiate crisis, standing with law enforcement officials, created a task force on violent crimes, tackling international cartels, national security targeting strike on Syrian airfield, travel restriction with select country comprised by terrorism, new Iran sanctions, calling in for increased defense spending and budget blueprint, cost savings on the F-35, cutting regulations. He has energy independent executive order, revocation of federal contracting, reexamination of CAFE, review of water of the United States rules, creation of the regulatory task force, keeps going on. He has been very active as a president, and the federal judges that he has appointed, well, that one's been done in the background very quietly. We've been very overtaken in our federal courts by liberal judges, and now we're having a chance to start getting some ground back and getting judges that are more constitutional. And I feel sad for them. With that, you're listening to the Reaver of Common Sense right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, and we will be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
You have been listening to Reaver of Common Sense, hosted by my dad, Jersey Joe. Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplains.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying Catholic, stupid bro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking, drinking, drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the Southside Mutt Show with its hosts, the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, where we will be digging up the dirt.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
If you miss a show, don't worry. You can catch the replays two ways, rebootingliberty.com or the reaverofcommonsense.com. While you're there on Reaver of Common Sense, don't forget, drop in your email and keep up to date with everything going on, or click the like button on the Facebook widget. Now on to the Reaver of Common Sense.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show. And welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense. I am your host, Jersey Joe, and I'm trying to make sense out of the senseless. I don't know. It's It doesn't seem to be straightening out anytime soon. I had hoped, I should say, by now, the Democrats would have got it through their heads and would start trying to act responsible. But I see they're still led by a bunch of children. I mean, immature children that care more about feel-good, social justice warrior bullshit than actual governing the country. They're catering to this small group in America, ignoring the big issues that are going on in this country. But Chelsea Handler is slammed for a tweet calling for laws against people who think racism is funny, which is kind of weird for her because she is like the anti-political correctness queen of mouth, and she has made so many racist comments over the years under the guise of joke. But now, she's out there because it's a good social justice movement. But not everyone thinks Chelsea Handler is funny anymore. The comedian suggested in a recent tweet that there should be laws against people who think racism is funny. 2 Chinese guys were arrested in Berlin for making a Nazi salute, Handler tweeted Sunday. Wouldn't it be nice to have laws here for people who think racism is funny? Well, she's attacking free speech right there. And she's like the queen of free speech. When she says things, it's supposed to be acceptable and everybody has to shut up and take it. But she wants a separate law for everybody else. And many took to Twitter to slam the comedian for her tweet, calling her hypocritical as she has advocated for free speech. Some Twitter users pointed out Handler has made racist jokes in the past. One tweet was thought who would punish speech. Those who would punish speech never think it possible it could happen to them. Like Handler, they aren't smart enough to defend their beliefs. Another one posted, are you saying we should have thought police? Another one, yes, Miss Politically Correct is advocating for wrong speech, think, act, feel police. Spectacularly terrifying. Silver lining, she's first. And another one, so racist jokes are only funny when you make them. Everyone else should be arrested. If it wasn't clear if Handler was joking with her message, a rep for the Star did not immediately return to Fox News request for a comment. I thought there was, let me pull that up real quick because there was some examples of her. Come on. Waiting for it to load up. Chelsea Handler once posted, Angela Jolie has filed for divorce from Brad Pitt. He wants the China. She wants Pax and Maddox. I thought there was one other one. She pretty much says what she thinks. And if you ever read her books, which I haven't, I've been told about them. She just says whatever she thinks, and it's supposed to be acceptable. Everybody has to accept that she has said it. Listen, I don't agree with 2 idiots giving a Nazi salute. Does that mean that they should be arrested? No. In Germany, they have a different feeling when it comes to that stuff. I can understand what they're talking about. May not agree with the law, but I understand what they're talking about. They are very touchy about that stuff. They're still embarrassed with what happened. My brother-in-law went over there several years ago, and he said when the people realized that he was an American, they looked down, they're embarrassed to look up because they know what happened in their history. They have nothing to be embarrassed about. They weren't part of it, but I understand why they have this anti-Nazism that goes on. For her to try to say we need to have a thought police, and if racism is funny, and coming from a comedian, that takes a lot of balls to try to push that thought process, especially one that pushes the limits so hard. Now, Lynch had used an alias Elizabeth Carlisle for her official email as Attorney General, including those related to her infamous tarmac meetings last summer with former President Clinton. The emails were included in a 413 pages of Justice Department documents provided to conservative watch group Judicial Watch and American Center for Law and Justice. Top federal officials using email aliases is not illegal or new, considering others in the former Obama administration also used them, urging security concerns and spam to their official email addresses, swamping their inboxes. Eric Holder, Lynch's predecessor, used Lou Alcindor, the former name of retired NBA star Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. However, critics of the practice argue that such aliases can result in some requested emails to and from officials getting undetected. Lynch used the alias to help craft responses to media requests about the meeting, the documents show. And former IRS official Lois Lerner, who was at the center of the agency's targeting of conservative groups seeking tax-exempt status, also used an alias, Toby Miles. Internet sleuths say Elizabeth Carlisle is the birth name of Lynch's maternal grandmother, but an actress who has done a number of sultry roles, including Prostitute and Tipsy, also has that name. Lynch documents were provided to the group in connection with lawsuits seeking information about June 27th, 2016, meeting on the tarmac of Phoenix Airport. The meeting came amid an FBI investigation whether Clinton's wife, then the Democrat presidential nominee, had revealed classified information when using private email service while Secretary of State. About a week later, FBI Director James Comey concluded the case by saying Clinton was extremely careless, but recommended the Justice Department not pursue criminal charges. In Senate testimony early this year, Comey said the meeting was a deciding factor in his decision to act alone to update the public on the investigation. He also said Lynch had directed him to call the investigation a matter which confused him. The former president left his private plane and boarded Lynch uninvited. Lynch said in the aftermath that they talked about grandchildren and other matters, but that investigation was not discussed. Later, Lynch said she regrets having allowed the meeting. Lynch's attorney, Robert Rabin, on Monday told the Daily Caller that Justice Department staffers who process Freedom of Information Act requests are aware of the alias. He also said the agency acknowledged in February 2016 that Lynch was using the Elizabeth Carlisle alias. As we all know, they use aliases, and I can understand because if you want to hack, okay, Lynch@DOJ, let's go hack that email. Okay, I can understand that. You need to do so that you also don't get a lot of spam. I can understand that. The question is the material that's in. If I understand it was heavily redacted information. If there's so much redaction in that document and it was only about grandchildren, well, they shouldn't be redacted then. That's not top secret information. Oh, man, allergies are starting to kick up. Oh. Al Gore admits hyperglobalization failure explains Trump appeal and voters don't trust the elite and expert. Former vice president and renowned globalist Al Gore admitted that President Donald Trump may have won the presidency because voters simply no longer trust so-called experts and elites like him after the many failures of hyperglobalization. Gore made his remarks on Chris Hayes' MSNBC show that aired on Friday evening while discussing his various projects to combat climate change. Hayes argued that resistance climate change is culture and opposed by people associated with those liberals who aren't like you, who want to tell you what to do and a whole lot of culture baggage. Gore said that opposition has to be put in a larger context of the downward pressure that unchecked globalization has put on people's wages. We're seeing huge changes in the global economy and the American economy, Gore said. Wages have stagnated for middle-income families for decades, and there is a lot of understandable unrest, and elites were slow to recognize it because the increase in inequalities kept the elites' income going up. Gore added that meanwhile, hyperglobalization flung jobs to low-wage venues. Automation started howling out a lot of the jobs in retail. People started to question the reliability of experts who have charted this globalization path and policies that were supposed to improve their lives. In a rare instance, when a liberal like Gore has been challenged on the left-wing network, Hayes immediately jumped in and pointed out that Gore was one of those so-called experts. You were one of them, Hayes told Gore. Absolutely, I'll own up to that. A somewhat sheepish Gore replied before arguing that conditions were better in the 1990s. Gore then said politicians must understand they have an obligation to those who are hurt and damaged by globalization and automation and give them new education and vocational opportunities. He then, of course, took a shot at Trump, saying that a demagogue like Trump had an understanding appeal by arguing that America needs to return to the past. Everything's going to be fine. CNN Fareed Zakaria also conceded this week that Trump's election was a class rebellion against elites like himself and Hillary Clinton. The election of Donald Trump is really a class rebellion against people like us, educational professionals who live in cities who have cosmopolitan views about a lot of things, Zakaria said this week. I think there's a whole part of America that's sick and tired of being told what to do by this overeducated professional elite that Hillary Clinton in many ways perfectly represented, and that's why they're sticking with him. Holy shit, they're actually they're working at angle there to admit that they're working at angle. I don't trust it, and I don't trust them. All right, that's coming up to the end of the show. I know I'm a couple minutes left, but allergies are kicking my ass. So, let's see what else I could fit in. One last article. Michael Moore article. Michael Moore slams Trump BritX, telling Brits, enjoy your miserable life on your island. Left-wing filmmaker Michael Moore has told Britons in a rant against BritX and U.S. Donald Trump. Appearing on Channel 4 News, the director and activist said Britain and the U.S. are competing to see which country would be the first to ditch political ideology that he disapproves of. We're in a bit of a race here, Britain and the U.S., to see which one of us is going to get out of the situation first, asserting that he would put money on Britain winning by sabotaging BritX before Trump loses the White House. Presenter Jon Snow then pointed out that Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn was as pro-exit as the hawks in the Conservative Party, to which the left-winger explained he thought a Labour election victory would result in Britain's remaining in Europe. If you want to leave Europe, responded Moore, telling Britons, you're still part of Europe, but maybe enough people there just don't want to be part of it. Oh, my God. And that guy has lost touch with reality. All right, you've been listening to the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by me, Jersey Joe. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 p.m. Have a great night. You've been listening to the Reaver of Common Sense with its host, Jersey Joe. You can tune in every day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on hppundit.com and shrmedia.com.